you always listen to us say, well, the only two Gospels that the Bible records, they always hear us say circumcision and uncircumcision. And many of you may not understand the term, or some understand it at all. Some think that when we talk about the circumcision, that we are talking about something that occurs physically in a person, but we are talking about doctrinally the doctrinal covenant of circumcision and the doctrinal covenant of uncircumcision. So there is a very big difference between those two Gospels. And when, for example, when the Bible speaks of circumcision, it speaks of a foundation. When it speaks of the uncircumcision, it speaks of another foundation. Circumcision is a foundation that has already passed. It passed 2,000 years ago, and it is known as a foundation of dead works. And uncircumcision is known as the living way. We can read, for example, in Hebrews chapter 6, verse 1. You can see how it calls you the foundation of dead works. And you can see in the same book of Hebrews chapter 10, verse 20, it says, by a new and living way, which he consecrated for us through the veil, that is his flesh, Jesus Christ, when his flesh was sacrificed on the cross of Calvary, opened a new way, implying that the old way there ended, the circumcision there ended, and the new way of uncircumcision began. Now, when the apostle says we have not received the spirit of the world, but the Spirit who is from God, that is in the first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 2, verse 12, says we have not received the spirit of the world, implying that there are two spirits, the spirit of the world and the Spirit of God. And those spirits are doctrinal spirits of teaching, because it says that we have received the Spirit who is from God, so that we may know the things freely given to us by God. So we are not talking about a spirit at the mystical level, but a spirit at the doctrinal level, at the teaching level. The Spirit, when he says we, he is referring to the apostles who possessed the spirit of the world, the spirit of Moses, the spirit of the law, that covenant that was added. Now we, those who come after the cross, those of us who are Christians, we have another spirit, which is the Spirit of God, to know what God has granted us. In James chapter 3, verses 10 and 11, it says, out of the same mouth proceed blessing and cursing. My brethren, these things ought not to be so. Does a spring send out from the same opening both fresh and bitter water? And when it says, out of the same mouth proceed blessing and cursing, that is what we do not want to have in our mouth, curse, because we have the Spirit of God to know what God has granted us. Therefore, James, speaking in that way, he compared it to a fountain that spouts sweet water and bitter water. You can't pour both, or fresh water boots or bitter water boots, or you are blessed, because you can't say, God bless you, it's one or the other. For example, members of the circumcision. Peter says, the devil walks like a lion, he walks like a roaring lion. That is Peter, the Apostle Peter of the circumcision. Now Paul, who is of the uncircumcision, says the devil is destroyed. Paul sees it from a teaching source, the spirit of the world. The lion walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom it may devour. Now Paul speaks differently. Paul says the devil is destroyed. The spirit that we have received from God teaches us that the devil is destroyed. The spirit of the world says that the devil is loose. They are two foundations, two spirits.